welcome to the second edition of Cultural Cooking. I'm here with Serena Kaufman, and she's going to explain a little bit about the Jewish culture. So what are we making today, Serena?
We are making lox, eggs, and onions, and this is a Jewish traditional cultural dish, typically for Yom Kippur, which is the holiday where we essentially throw away our sins. You fast for the whole day, and then once you do eat, you eat a lot of foods with eggs for to represent kind of rebirth. And so lox, eggs, and onions is a staple Jewish traditional meal.
Now, as I cut up these lox, why don't you tell me a little bit about Yom Kippur? Did I pronounce that right?
Yes.
Perfect.
All right, so like I said, this holiday is just kind of the equivalent to what it is to go to a priest. What is it called? Confession. It's kind of like that, except you're confessing to yourself this one time of the year. And just the involvement of fasting is to remember when the Jews made their pilgrimage to the homeland, to Israel. So, again, by fasting all day and then having this lox, the fish, and some eggs, onions, I don't know how all of this combination in particular came together, but it's delicious and it's just a staple.
Great.
And the matzah, this also isn't necessarily traditional of Yom Kippur. It's more for Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year, but it goes great with lox, eggs, and onions. It's kind of like your toast instead. With matzah is unleavened bread.
Ooh, I haven't tried that yet, so I'm excited to. And is this looking good?
Yeah, that's fine, actually.
Perfect, and then just cut
small,
it like that?
Small pieces, yeah.
All right. So start cracking the eggs now?
Yep.
Perfect.
All right, we will do 3. This is just like we're making scrambled eggs. Oops. You don't want the shell in there.
Take that right out.
Take that right out. 2. And you could do 2 and an egg white if you're trying to be low on cholesterol. We're just gonna do it good old-fashioned way. Okay, no shells in there.
Awesome, and I'll get scrambling those up.
And gonna add a pinch of salt and pepper. You don't want to do too much, just put it in your hand, pinch it in. And a little pepper. It's not right.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay, now do we add the onions and the lox directly into this, or do we start cooking them first?
We do not. We're going to cook them first so that the lox absorb some of the onion, all of that flavor is in there, and then we'll pour the eggs on afterwards.
All right, you got it.
Oil here. Now, some people when they're making eggs will use butter, but I found actually when I was in Italy that this is a great substitute and it's healthier. All right, and now the onion and lox, please. We start with that.
All right. What's that?
So toss these in. Get that going a little bit.
All right, and I'll scoop these in.
Okay. And pretty much with anything you cook, not just lox, eggs, and onions, you want to start with an onion or garlic or something to kind of get those juices before you put in your other ingredients. Oh, there you go. We want to get all the lox.
Lox are the best part. I'll hand this over to the expert.
Just stir it up a little bit.
Now, do we have to have it cooked first, or?
No, you're just wanting it to get warm, and then in just a little bit, just another minute, we'll throw in the eggs.
Okay. Now, while we're waiting for that to heat up a little bit, why don't you tell me what the Jewish culture means to you?
Okay, well, first of all, there are people who identify with the Jewish religion and then people who identify with the Jewish culture. And I would say as a Reformed Jew, there's also Reconstructionist Jews, which is kind of a step below. You identify more with cultural things such as lox, eggs, and onions. This isn't generally, it's not a religious meal to be eating. It's not necessary for the Yom Kippur tradition I was talking about, but it's just tradition, a cultural tradition, and it's something that really values just family time, celebrating the high holy days, but, not living life by the Jewish rule.
Okay.
All right, and now we're ready for the eggs.
All right, I'll grab them. All right, and just pour them right in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is all in. Now, typically we'd have a little bit of milk. We don't have that today. We'll give it a little bit more of a cloudy, fluffy egg. But right now we're just essentially making scrambled eggs, letting it heat up a little bit, maybe turn it up a bit. And I'm just going to scramble it.
right. So you went to Israel recently. What was the purpose of traveling there? Vacation or a little bit more?
What's interesting is if you get bat mitzvah, no matter where you are, actually I do believe this is an American typical thing to do in the Jewish religion, but you become bat or bar mitzvah. Bat mitzvah is girl, bar mitzvah is boy. You basically get a rite of passage to go back to the homeland, to Israel. So you go on what's called taglit, or birthright. So essentially when I got bat mitzvah, I got a certificate handed to me that said, we want you to go back to the homeland for free for 10 days. So that's what I did. I went through a group actually with my sister who got bat mitzvah as well, and with other Jewish kids from literally all over the world. So I'm sorry, it's not only an American thing, it's all over the world. You go, and the Israeli citizens and the Israeli government pay for it because ultimately they want you to make what's called aliyah, which means you permanently move to Israel.
That's incredible.
That's the goal. I don't think I'll be doing that, but I definitely have took a lot away from the experience, and yeah, I'll never forget it for sure.
What was the most significant piece of the trip for you?
I think just understanding and seeing, first of all, the country is only the size of New Jersey. So it's fascinating going from the top, which was, just lowering this a little bit, the northern Israel is very green, very lush, a lot of agriculture, and then southern Israel is all desert. And so, we take a bus ride for 4 hours. In the morning, I'm in lush green, and by the afternoon, I'm literally in the middle of the desert.
Quite
so
contrast.
I think that was fascinating to me, that you can just be in such different cultural worlds. People have different, not different values, it's still, celebrating the Jewish religion, but if you're in an agricultural community as opposed to an arid one, it's completely different. So.
And you were saying that there were kids from all over the world.
Yes.
Were you still able to connect with them even though they're from another country, but you share part of the same culture?
I would say definitely. In my group, it was all Americans, but we did have a few run-ins with the other groups from elsewhere. When we met the Prime Minister of Israel, it was incredible. And so, yeah, we all were able to just be in this room together and look around and know that we all had this common thing. We were all bought a bar mitzvah, we're all here on birthright, and we're all experiencing Israel. And I would say unanimously felt that we would be back at some point. I know I will go back, so.
And what are some of the other Jewish culture traditions that you take part in?
So like I said, high holy days that we'll do, there's Rosh Hashanah, the New Year. So at a time like this, sometimes people would open their prayer books, and this is where the religion versus cultural celebration happens. So my family typically won't do the whole prayer book and everything. We're just celebrating family, eating. Jews love to eat, and just being together. So I think that's where the major difference is, like Rosh Hashanah, or Passover is probably the most prominent holiday, but definitely something that we all, again, just food, family, love, like that. I always say that Jews are very much like Italians. I grew up in a town with a lot of Italians, and just all about the love and loud and eating. And speaking of eating, these are pretty much ready.
Perfect. Ooh, I'm excited. They're smelling good.
Yeah.
All right, so we're all ready to eat. Let's see how they turned out.
Okay. Oh my god, so good. It literally brings me back home too. When you eat
Oh my goodness.
a meal that you're brought up with, it really brings you back to that tradition.
It really does. It makes you feel so nostalgic.
I love it.
Now, would you ever put the eggs on these?
On the matzah, yes, definitely. So this basically could act as your toast. What matzah is, it's unleavened bread. And the story behind matzah was that the Jews, again, when they were fleeing Egypt and the pharaoh's rule, they didn't have time to bake the bread. So it ended up being unleavened bread that they just took out of the oven, essentially just went off with it. So it became matzah.
Interesting.
Which means flatbread.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
That was fun.
Mm.
Good stuff.
Oh, I really like it with that.
A little butter too.
Ooh, I'll remember that for next time. So I'm still really interested in your trip to Israel. How did that make you feel more connected to your faith and your culture?
One thing that really stood out to me, I think, is that Shabbat is a holiday that's practiced every Friday night. Every Jewish holiday starts at sunset and ends at the next day's sunset, typically is what Shabbat is. And here, I never really celebrated it. It wasn't really a thought. But being in Israel, the night of Shabbat is like a madhouse. There are people everywhere in the market. It's basically just everyone get together and make this the greatest family meal. And Shabbat is just kind of the day of rest. You relax and be with family and hang out. So I think seeing that and knowing the idea that I had of Shabbat in the United States, and then going and seeing how important it was this one time a week for every single person in Israel was incredible. Another thing was just I met some soldiers over there who were actually my age. So connecting with them and seeing what different lives we have, but at the same time very similar, that was incredibly interesting and another experience that I couldn't forget if I wanted to.
So how are your lives similar to the soldiers?
Well, a lot of them were in school, just like myself. They, in other countries, typically they say we're in university as opposed to college. So in Israel, you're required for 3 years to be enlisted in the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force. So while they're doing that, or after, before, they'll be in school. One of them was actually studying psychology, like myself, so that's what was really interesting. We were connecting on that level. And I think it was just a matter of, no matter where you are, you might, at the same age, have the same sort of mindset. They're, free and, at this point in time looking to have fun. And it was just nice feeling like these are very similar people to me, as opposed to I looked at you as a soldier, an Israeli soldier no less. They're one of the defense force that's very well known and well respected. So I had a little bit of a stigma before going in, I suppose, but they just broke down that barrier and made me feel like we were just good friends.
Oh, that's awesome. It really makes you feel like you can connect to anyone all over the world on some level. And Shabbat, is that something that you're going to now, seeing how it was in Israel, try and bring into the United States?
I have, and actually it's kind of funny. I live off my phone calendar, and now since I've been to Israel, every Friday at right before sundown, it will say Shabbat, and I will say the prayer literally tomorrow night. I'll be saying it. At the beginning, I think it was probably a little bit more prominent when I came home. I would make like a really big meal every Friday and say the prayer, light candles and things. That's dwindled off since I've been home, but I still recognize it, and I think that's the most important part, is to recognize just being appreciative this day of rest and just looking at the week that's behind me now and saying, all right, time to just chill. So
that's really nice.
I definitely took that from the experience.
Seems like a really good way to end the week too.
Yeah,
especially all the craziness that goes on.
Exactly.
Is there anything else I should know or that you'd like our viewers to know about the Jewish culture?
Just that it's really all about love, family, very similar to every other religion and faith. It's really no different. Judaism has carried just this huge weight, and it's been Jewish people have been scapegoats for all of history essentially, but we're just not that different at all. And I think that's just an important thing for everyone to know.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show today, and tuning next week, and we'll have a whole new country or faith or culture to focus on.
Make lox, eggs, and onions.